always like to start with stories. We like to hear how people got to where they are. So why don't you take us back to the beginning of your story in real estate and tell us how you got here?
Yeah. Sort of begins when I was a 6-year-old who was this nerdy little kid, who had a real propensity for designing and building things. And I, fast forward to high school and then university, I parlayed that, my hobby into a career. I'm a practicing architect, have been for 40 years. And I've been a housing guy, that entire time. It's the product type I really enjoy, the asset class. And along the way, I worked with a lot of developers. I have designed hundreds and hundreds of structures and thousands of apartments and condominiums, lots of single family detached structures. Just, really, really had an intuitive feel for that product type. So, along the way, I decided to pivot and, looking over the shoulders of all these developers, I kind of figured out I could do it as well as they could. And went back to business school at the University of Washington. And
Go dogs.
in my late 40s, no less. And got I did that commercial real estate program that they offer there. And so, 9-month sort of executive program. And came out with a lot of understanding. I knew a lot of it going in, but definitely this is a line of work where intellectual capital gives you a competitive edge and widens your moat. So that was in the early aughts. I think I did that around 2002 or three, and by oh, 2014 or 15, I finally started doing deals, and yeah, since then I've focused on apartments. Is sort of a natural pivot for me. So we do the value add thing, but at a scale most operators only dream of. We not only are we the operators of the deal, but we're the asset manager and the contractor. We're vertically integrated. I've got probably close to 200 people on the payroll now. Um, it's about 60-40 between asset management and construction.
Nice.
And we're doing deep value add plays on every one of these deals and trying to move the needle. So
Very cool. Yeah, well, I mean, I'm always jealous of people who who have that background. They had a first career that is real estate adjacent. Being an architect,
yeah,
it is. I mean, it's not even real estate adjacent. It is you're building the structure, you're designing the structure. So it is real estate. I'm sure that was a good foundation to get into. It's curious that you took you went to UW for that executive program. Most people, actually, in fact, I've done over 600 episodes here, and you are the first person who got a real estate education at a university. Usually they do it, on the
wow.
school of hard knocks, or they learn from mentors or whatever. So I don't want to go too far into this, but I'm just curious, how did that go? How do you feel like it did prepare you for being an active operator in real estate?
Oh yeah, yeah. Look, the biggest threat to government or to real estate is government. And we were talking about that before we got online here. Knowing how to deal with the regulatory environment as a real estate operator, I mean, it's a core skill set.
Yeah.
And I do think that my engineering and design background also trained me to think very analytically, which is a really necessary skill set as well. I'm a numbers guy. I mean, to me, real estate is a math problem, and I know how to underwrite pretty well. Um, I just and I've talked to too many people getting into the business that don't even you talk to them about underwriting and they don't even understand what do you mean underwrite, much
Yeah.
less how to navigate a spreadsheet. And and then look, underwriting is a very nuanced skill set, and it also takes a lot of experience to understand not only how the numbers work, but prognosticate your inputs, because it can be garbage in, garbage out, unless you really have some scars to kind of temper your worst impulses on on income projections, right? And yeah, all of that contributed to I feel like I'm one of the few 5 tool players out there, and I just haven't met anybody with my balance of skill sets that is doing what I do. So, I
Nice.
mean,
And you feel
I
like
know a
the
lot of institutional guys, but you can do one thing in a large institutional developer. Trying to, and I'm not suggesting one path, not trying to break my arm, pat myself on the back here, but it's really helpful to have an insight into all the various facets of real estate. It just helps you be a better operator. So,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So it sounds like you feel like that program in specific gave you gave you the chops for underwriting. Gave you a
uh, you
context.
know, it certainly opened my eyes to it. I would
Mhm.
say that underwriting is an ongoing skill development. You
Yeah.
you can never learn enough about underwriting. Now that said, you can get an paralysis by analysis, right?
Yeah, I'll
So
tell you what, with AI now, it's become much easier, that's for sure. When I'm underwriting deals now with the help of AI, it's helping. It's crazy how much time it has cut down on the underwriting process to have AI on your side. But
well, I'm sure
uh,
you're doing a lot of market research very quickly
yeah, yep.
with AI.
And
Yep.
you're able to feed it just all your due diligence files, just toss it into AI, and it can just crunch that stuff like nobody's business. Stuff that
Yeah,
would
no,
take
it's
me
really helpful.
hours before, and now it's just churning through it. I love it.
Yeah.
Anyways, I want to go a little bit back to your story. Going from where you were an architect, you went to UW, you did their 9-month program, you got out, your first deal. Let's go back to that first deal.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
always the scariest. It's always the one that
Yeah.
you just kind of push yourself through because you don't know really what you're doing and you're learning on the fly. So go back to that deal. How did it go for you?
I did really well on that deal, as a matter of fact. I bought my first deal. I'd taken a run at a number of deals and, you know, made some offers, almost got it tied up, and then turned chicken shit and ran. But ultimately, I finally figured out the process, and for your listeners, real estate's a process. It is a process. And your growth looks like a hockey stick. Your first couple of years in the business are, like the blade, fairly flat, and then you take off because you're starting to accumulate all this knowledge and it's starting to make sense. So that's kind of and then even a guy with my experience, I went through that same process. But when I finally figured it out, I tied up a 30 unit in CTAC. And that was a great value add we did on that. I purchased that for like 2.6 million. We threw about 900,000 renovating the whole place. Every unit got turned, elevator got upgraded, um, painted the exterior, fixed a lot of rot. And 4 years later, I sold that for $6 million. And my investors made over 23% return on that deal in 4 years. So very successful deal for us. They
Very
don't
cool.
all go like that, but that one did. So
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, and we'll get to that. We'll get to it at the end of the show, but things always go wrong on every deal. It doesn't matter what it is. Usually something's going to go wrong, something you didn't see because you can't see through walls and inspectors don't catch everything. But
no.
I do want to talk a bit about ups and downs. So you got that first deal, you crushed it. That is a good way to start. It gives you the motivation to keep going and moving forward. Tell us about the trajectory from that point forward. You guys have scaled to 600 million AUM right now. I'm sure there were ups and downs. What were some of the inflection points that you felt kind of you had to go through?
Yeah, it was, I got lucky in my second deal. It was another deal I still own up on Beacon Hill. Um, that was just that's a great acquisition. But it went south very quickly. Um, Not from a financial point of view, but just what you as an apartment guy and a real estate guy, you are at the kind of threshold between private and public. And it seems like everybody and their mother has an opinion about what you're doing for a living, even though they don't write the check and I'm taking all the risk. I bought this deal up on Beacon Hill that again was a legitimate F class building. And it was just run down. crazy operator who owned it for me before me, and had an agreement with his tenants if they didn't bug him about capex and maintenance. He let them live there at a well below market rents, like $1,000 below market rent.
Wow.
Yep. And then he sold it. I bought it. We spent $1.5 million on that deal, renovating just a ton of deferred maintenance. I had to put a new roof on in February. We waited for the weather. I got a 3-day window of opportunity in the weather here, and we put an 80 mil cap sheet on that building in that amount of time.
Wow, in 3 days, you guys got quick.
We moved very fast because the rain was coming. I had to get I had to get a new roof on it because it was leaking in all the top floor units.
Hmm.
We got in there, renovated every unit. There was so much rot in the bathrooms that one time I walked on site. I was on the 4th floor of this building, and I looked down 3 stories in the bathroom. We had every floor of every bathroom in that stack was just completely rotted.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, so we had to reframe the floor.
Subfloor, everything.
Oh, it
Yeah.
was mess. It was just a mess. But, I can't tell you the number of times I had, and I'm going to call them out, Washington Citizen Actions Network. Those assholes were in front of my house 5 times protesting the fact that I bought this building and was renovating and had the audacity to raise rents.
Mm.
And they, of course, slandered me in the press, posted all sorts of bulletins on phone poles, both around the asset and in my neighborhood. Would drive up in a bus and park in front of my house and be there for hours, banging drums, blowing horns.
Wow.
Yeah, it's totally wild. 5 times. 5
That's
times that happened.
crazy.
They then went to my partner's homes in California and started trying to do the same, you know? That's the reality of what you do as an operator. Now, Seattle, it's an old labor town, right? And so it's got this history of organizing and, fighting the man and all that stuff. And, and look, I'm just a dude who bought a building 3 weeks earlier, and they're saying I ran it into the ground and I'm a slum. Total lying in the press.
Well, and this is another thing that it's a common theme throughout, the 600 plus episodes that we've done here is that you need to be aware of the government environment that you're buying into.
Oh, yeah.
You really, you both Mark and I live in the Seattle area, but we had this conversation before we got on the show. We don't even look for deals here because we don't want to deal with the issues. And so it's not, there are good places to live, and it can be a place that you don't want to invest because of the issues that you're going to be running into.
Yeah, we have rent control 9 months of the year here. You can't evict people 9 months of the year, and we have soft rent control 12 months of the year. I can't do business in that kind of environment. I've been chased out of this market.
Yeah,
candidly, and I know a lot of operators will tell you the same thing.
So, so Seattle's not for you anymore. That means you're looking elsewhere. Tell us about the value add plan, your strategy today. Like, what are you guys looking for? Where are you looking? And what kind of value add are you looking to do to the properties that you buy?
So I invest only in Houston now.
Okay.
We did a couple of deals up in Oklahoma City. That our core base of operations is in Houston. All our labor's there. We have a big warehouse there. We get a lot of products shipped from overseas because we control our supply chain now. It's shipped to the Port of Houston, which is right there in Pasadena, and then our drivers go down, pick it up, and take it to our warehouse. Our sweet spot is like a 250 to 350 door asset. Garden style is what you see a lot of in Houston.
Mm-hmm.
Urban areas tend to do apartment blocks, and areas with a little more dirt and expansion potential, they tend to do garden style communities, which is at most a 3-story walk up. So it tend to be more 2-story. So we've bought a ton of those in Houston, and about 4,200 doors there now, and we're renovating we're doing these deep value add plays. So um, we're throwing about 18,000 a door at each deal. These are condo quality finishes in a C-class deal. That's our thesis. And we legitimately own and operate the best looking C-class deals in all of Houston. We've got
Very cool. And
14 or
so
15 communities down there now.
so you guys are looking at the Houston suburbs, correct? You're looking at kind of the I wouldn't say tertiary.
Inside the outer loop is kind of our mantra. Yeah,
Inside the
we,
outer loop, right? Because Texas, they all their cities are designed with those big
yeah,
highways that go around them. That makes sense. So what initially drew you to Houston? San Antonio is actually a place. San Antonio and DFW. We have properties in both of those. I love those areas. I love buying in them. DFW has become a little expensive, but
that's
I
why
know
I'm not
there's
there.
still a
Yeah.
ton of growth potential there. Houston's some place that I've never bought, but I've heard really good things about it. Why? What drew you to Houston originally?
Well, first of all, I'm an old Detroit guy, and so I'm really used to kind of workforce housing.
Mm,
Um, San Antonio is the basis of Texas government, and then DFW. That's sort of the Parisian part of Texas. That's they do so each has a unique kind of economy. Houston's going to be more manufacturing based and oil. San Antonio is going to be a more government based. DFW is going to be finance.
mm.
So and given the workforce housing that I do, I just chose Houston because you're going to find a lot of worker bees down there.
Yeah.
Also, Houston's the second largest apartment market in the country, and so I just always figured I could find another
Go
deal
where the
around there.
demand is. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
and not only that, Houston is always of the Texas Triangle the one adding the most population.
Yeah, Houston is massive. That's for
It is
sure.
massive. Since I've been investing there, more than 1 million people have moved to Houston, and what I can tell you, they haven't built a million units of housing.
Wow, that's crazy.
So there's a lot of upward rent pressure in that city.
Cool. All right. Well, shoot, I just took a peek at the clock and looks like we've already run it down. So I actually do have to
Oh,
move us on to the quick question round.
all right.
And it starts with education. Could be any form, could be a book you've read, movie you've seen, mentorship program you've been a part of. I just need 2 recommendations, one for general life wisdom and then one for real estate.
Uh, you know, look, there are a gazillion of these real estate programs out there. They're short 9-month certificate programs. If you really want to get a good firm basis in real estate, which I believe everybody should have, participate in one of those. If you can't do that, Gary Keller of Keller Williams.
Just grabbing his book. There we go.
There we go. He wrote the Red Book and the Blue Book. These things they're very accessible.
And the name of that book, he showed it to the camera, but it's The Millionaire Real
Millionaire
Estate
Real Estate
Investor.
Investor.
Yeah.
Okay. I just think if you're new to the industry and you want to learn something, that's a great place to start. And then I'm a big proponent of Rockefeller principles, so masterminds.
Yeah.
There are a ton of masterminds out there, some better than others. I'm in a fairly high level executive mastermind right now. But you don't have to throw down what I paid to participate in this. But there are just, plenty of ways to amplify your learning curve. And I just think everybody who wants to get into this, they initially think they just got to go old cowboy. No, you really got to you've got to marry your action with your education and your understanding. So
And that is one thing that I've said this many times on the show that I wish I did when I got started. When I got started, I read books. I took an online course, and that was my education before I started taking action. I'm glad I took action earlier, but I wish that I actually got a mentor or got into some kind of mastermind. So,
a mentor can shave 10 years off your learning curve.
yep. And so whenever somebody recommends something like that, I want to see if you have a specific recommendation that listeners can go and get engaged with. Do you have a recommendation for it?
Sure, I'll put a plug in for these guys. I'm part of the M1 mastermind. They have two levels. I'm in what's called the boardroom level. They only accept like 5%, 10% of their membership into that. You've got to be a pretty serious operator to be participant in that. But the lower level is for all types, and it really, I was just at a conference with them 2 weeks ago, and they are talking about how to raise money, how to do operations, war stories from guys like me. Yeah, it's always enlightening to get in a room with a lot of people who are aligned with you. So that's a good one. But you got to, look, it's not cheap. Check it out. They're online. So
Cool. All right, next question is for your younger self. Let's go back to the Mark who was still not just, but who was primarily an architect. Go back to him, look him in the eye, give him one piece of advice moving forward.
take more risks.
Nice. I like that. And that falls into the bucket of I wish I got started sooner. So anytime
Yep.
somebody recommends that, I always point it back to you, the listener. If you haven't gotten your first deal done, go out and get it done. Doesn't matter what it is. Could be a piece of land, could be a single family, multifamily, whatever. Just go out there, get it done. 10 years down the road, you're going to be thankful that you got started today versus yet tomorrow.
I've
So
met too many people who spend too much thinking about thinking about thinking about getting in the business.
yeah, exactly. All right. Next question is about finding deals. It all starts with getting in contact with the seller and penning that purchase agreement. So, what is your favorite way to generate leads and find new deals?
Now, like don't be afraid to call brokers. Those guys eat what they kill, and but you got to be intelligent about doing that. You need to have something of a team lined up. You just can't be, some dude off the street calling a broker saying, "Hey, I want a building." And they're going to size you up about your capacity and ability to close a deal. They don't want to waste their time because, like I said, they eat what they kill. So, put your power team together, start networking, and find people who complement your skill sets. You've got to have somebody who's good at operations, another one who's good at analysis, and then perhaps somebody who is good at marketing. But then you can start, once you have that in place, you can start calling brokers and go online, kind of familiarize yourself with the product availability in your market. There are tons of boutique commercial brokerages out there, and they're all selling apartments one way or another. Now is not a particularly good time to try to buy one, but unless there's going to be a ton of deals in the next 18 months, you're going to be able to buy 2026 deals at 2016 prices. Yep.
All right.
There's a
Heard it here
reset
first. I
going
like
on in the
that.
market.
That's the thing. I always have a hard time speculating about the future just because, I mean, I've been wrong too many times and I just don't know where things are going to go. But I
Well,
have heard that sentiment across many people on this show, off this show that I've been networking with. And so we'll
short
see.
version is a lot of loans are maturing and they cannot refi out of them. And
Mm.
so they are all going to go into receivership. $1 trillion plus of deals are going in on the auction block here in the next 24 months. And so it's going to be quite a party but you got to
Interesting.
have your capital lined up and you got to know what you're doing. So it's a good time to buy, but it hasn't quite started yet. So.
Okay. All right. Next question is about lessons learned. Not every deal we get into goes the way we expect it. In fact, pretty much every single time something goes wrong.
Yeah.
And that's when we get to learn a lesson. So, what was a deal that went a little bit sideways for you? And then what was the lesson you pulled from it?
Well, I got two. One, I got ripped off by a contest yesterday, capitulated after a 2-year lawsuit. So going to finally close the chapter on that one. Really, the one that's most illustrative, we own a deal in the Pasadena marketplace down in Texas, Houston. And we got it at a great basis. It's our largest deal. Thought we were going to do really well on it. But the asset next door traded twice. It actually went into receivership twice, and the guy who ultimately owns it now got it at such a low basis that
Mm,
he's renting out the units. His units are being rented out for $600 or $700 under market.
mm, mhm.
He tanked the whole submarket
Yeah.
because everybody now needs to compete with him, and it blew up our pro forma. So even though we did everything right, stuff can go wrong
Yeah.
and totally tank your deal. And it's outside of your control. So that's why, I get up every day and I am an avid reader of news. And first thing I check every morning is what's the 5 year and the 10 year doing, you know,
Yeah.
because that ends up in your denominator and can, shift the value of your asset $5 to $10 million overnight.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because that something like that happened to me for self storage. Somebody built a massive self storage facility in an area that had no business adding additional net rentable per capita, and so, but those kind of things you just can't predict.
Oh,
I looked at the net rentable, and to me, it didn't make sense for anybody to build the new facility here because there wasn't enough population to support that. But this guy did it anyways, and he tanked the just like you said, tanked the average rent. And those things you can't predict them, but they're going to happen, and you got to roll with it.
yep.
So yeah. All right. Well, that brings us to the very last question. This is for the listeners. You've given us a lot to think about. I'm sure people want to reach out, get in contact with you. This is a two-parter. Where can they find you, and then what can they expect when they reach out?
You can reach out to me through LinkedIn. I am a very avid poster on LinkedIn. My profile's there. It's schulerarchitecture.com or Mark Schuler. You can Google me. Just DM me there. I post a lot of really value added content on LinkedIn. So read some of my posts. There's a lot of good scar tissue there. I try to provide a really analytical and thoughtful commentary on there for people to walk away with a nugget or two of wisdom. So, but DM me there, or you can just hit me up, investor at sgreinvestments.com. I'm in front of this box all day long, and I generally will respond within 2 minutes. So.
Awesome. I'll put that link in the show notes. So if y'all want to reach out, all you got to do is click a little more in the description. It's going to pull down that full description in there. You can find Mark's links. All right, man. That wraps it up. Thank you very much for hopping on the show.
Okay, my pleasure. Thanks.
Absolutely. For everybody who's with us today, thank you guys for showing up. You are the reason we do this. So if you guys have any questions, reach out to me, Gabe at therealestateinvestingclub.com. If you guys want to support the show, just leave us a comment, review, anything like that. Other than that, I hope you guys have a great week. Keep rocking real estate, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.